everybody. In this video I'm going to show you how to make a bow tie. And what I have my patterns here. I have a men's, a child's, a toddler, and a baby. But I'm just going to work with the men's this time. And the reason why I have the holes in each of my patterns is because I like to make bow ties out of certain prints, and it helps me to be able to center my pattern over a particular part of the fabric. Like I had one fabric that had superhero eyes all over it, so a set of Iron Man and Thor and a set of eyes for each superhero, and I would just align this over so I would see where the eyes were placed on the bow tie because I wanted to make it look a certain way. So this would show me what the bow tie would look like. If I wanted this here, you can see the center line here that goes horizontally across the bow tie, and then the vertical, and this is where the strap would be over it. So it kind of gave me an idea of what it's going to look like when it's finished. But I don't really need it with this one unless I'm picky about how I do the sample. So basically all I do is do an outline. And if you don't want to do this, you could just take your rotary blade and just go around it, but I'm afraid I'll cut my pattern, and then pretty soon, over time, it'll just get warped. Or chiseled up, whatever. And just cut right along the lines that you made. Now this fabric is a home decorator fabric, so it's a little heavier weight than a normal cotton. So I'm not going to interface these. If it's a really light weight, you might want to interface it depending on how you want your bow tie to feel afterwards and how stiff you want it. Okay, now this is what I'm going to make the strap out of, and it doesn't match, but it doesn't really matter because it's just for this tutorial. No one's going to wear it. Okay, so you have your pieces cut out, and what you need to do is, I just kind of do a finger crease here, and you fold your ends or your edges into the center crease that you just made. And you do that with both of these. And then when you're finished, take them to the iron and press them out. I'm sorry, that should have been press them down, not press them out. Okay, so now that you've folded them into the center horizontally, we're going to fold them in half this way and then kind of crease it here if you can. If not, use a pin. You can use a pin to mark it like this. Just mark the center, and then you take these two and you move it in here and have them meet in the middle. If you want to press these, you can, but I'm not going to because I'm afraid it'll make it too flat on the whole bow tie. Okay. Just do your best to have them meet in the middle. If it's not exactly straight, don't worry about it. You just want to make sure that it's pretty much meeting in the middle. You don't want a whole lot of bulk there, so don't overlap it. Now, I'm going to put this aside and explain. This is a bow tie set. It's the hook and loop. You have the hook, the loop, and then the slider. And this calls for a 5/8 inch strap. So what I did is I don't have an actual pattern for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it right sides together. And then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine. And now this is just how I do it. If you want to make a pattern and do it your way, that's fine. Now what I'm going to do is on the fold, I'm going to place this on the 5/8 inch mark on my throat plate. That way I have the 5/8 inch strap here. Then when I sew it, I'm going to trim this off, and I'll show you how I do it later. I do straps a certain way. Some people, they sew it, then they turn it inside out, and to me, that's just a real pain, and I hate turning straps like this, so I have my own way of doing it. But I'm going to get this pressed out really nice and then get my machine set up, and I'll show you what to do. Okay, so now you have your bow tie. This is the back of it, and I'm just going to stitch across here, down, across, and back up. Now, it doesn't matter what color thread you use because you're not even going to see it. This is just to keep everything together. So you'll need a straight stitch, about 2.5 inches, or I'm sorry, stitch length 2.5. Now you do want to make sure that it's close to the center so that when you put your strap around it, it covers the threads. Okay, and then you just trim off your threads at the end when you're finished. Okay, now I'm going to do the strap, and I'm going to make it 5/8 of an inch, but I'm going to double check just to make sure because I really want the edges to be right up against the edges of the loop. Okay, on this part, you're going to need to lengthen your stitch length all the way to a basting, so the longest stitch you have. And you're not going to back stitch, you're just going to start it and take it to the other end. Okay, now what you're going to do is take it to the the ironing board, and you're going to press these open. So press it like this, and then you turn it around and you press this back here. So both sides need to be pressed really flat. Okay, well, I took my strap to the ironing board and I pressed it open. My phone decided to stop recording, so I missed a bunch of it. So I trimmed off the excess. So I had the straps like this, and then the seam allowance came off here. I pressed it. I brought it back here, took the threads out, and then laid it open like this. And then I took it to the ironing board and pressed it again because I wanted this center crease out, but I wanted to maintain these creases, which were the seam allowance. So now all I need to do is turn the strap inward like this, where my seam allowances are already encased. Because like I said, I hate turning my straps inside out when they're already sewn. It's too difficult, and it's basically just a drag. I don't like doing it. So you want to make sure that it's going to be straight all the way. So kind of align it a little ways down to make sure that it's not going to shift. And I want to show you something very important when you're doing these straps. So let's get this part sewn. So you're just going to align these folded edges. You're going to put your machine back on 2.5 on the stitch length, straight stitch, back stitch, and just sew all the way down to the other end. Okay, now you can just stop it here, or you can do like I do. I like to have both sides of my strap sewn because when it's sliding through the slider, sometimes this can ripple and I don't like it. So I want to show you something. Okay, I just finished sewing this side. I am not going to turn it this way, nor am I going to turn it this way. What I'm going to do is, if I've sewn it like this, I'm going to just slide it over. And I put a video, I made a video on how to do straps, and I'll link it up in the cards above. So just slide it over and do the other side. Okay, now this is me. I will take just the end of this. I'm going to cut it off, and I'm going to use this to wrap around my bow tie. Some people don't like it. I do like that extra stitching, and this is what I like about sewing. You can make it so personal. You can wrap this around, and you'll have that stitching on either side. If it's a dressier tie, you might want to leave that off and just make a tube, turn it inside out so you don't see any stitching at all. But I personally like the stitching on the strap that goes around the bow tie. Now that the strap is finished, I'm going to go back to the bow tie. Now what you're going to do with the bow tie is you're going to take the wrong sides and you're going to put them together. Now what I like about this is that I made these the exact same size, and that's fine. But if you wanted, you can make the front one a different fabric. You can do a different size. You can go smaller so you can have that depth, because you'll have the back, the front's a little bit smaller, then you'll have that center strap. You can do, oh my gosh, there's the possibilities are endless. I did black satin with silver sparkles. You can do organza. You can do cotton. I did like a double knit. It looked like a 70s print. Really, I thought it was cool. So at this point, all you need to do is take one stitch down the center here. Now here, this is how I fold mine. You fold it in the center forward, take half back. And then I have this tail, and I wrap it around. And that's basically what it's going to look like. Then you take your strap and you wrap it around it. And I am just going to shove a pin in here for now. So basically that's what it's going to look like. This strap is 29 inches long, and I don't always know how long I'm going to need it. So I make a long one, and as I start putting it together, then I'll adjust the length of the strap. And the reason why is because I want the maximum adjustability in the strap. So, which means when I attach it to the bow, I am not going to sew it to the bow. I'm going to sew this strap closed, but this strap will be able to slide in and out of this. So I will leave that like that for now. So this is how you put these on. You get your, I don't know what this is. This is the slider. Sometimes I forget what they're called. So through one hole, around that post, through the other one, and you're going to sew this down. Get as close as you can without obviously hitting your needle on the metal piece. Okay, so that's on. Okay, now that we have the slider on, we're going to try and keep this in the viewfinder. These instructions are on the back if you need help, but we're going to take the hook, and you can see that this part, I'm going to call this the inside of the strap because that's where the seam or the edge is, the raw edge. So you're going to bring it up like this, and the loop is going to face towards the outside of the strap, if that makes any sense. Now that you have the loop there, you're going to take this end here and see how it goes here. You're going to go up through this side of the slider and back down this side. So now you've created a loop for your hook, or my loop. Now, again, this is the inside of the strap. You're going to take the hook and you're going to come up through this side, fold it down, and you're going to sew right here. That way, when it's on the bow, it'll look like this. Of course, after I sew it. There we go. That's what it'll look like. Now that looks like an awfully big neck, and I'm not sure anybody's gonna have that big of a neck. So I think I've heard of, at the largest, and this is a pretty large, it's like a 20-inch neck, and that's a big neck. I am going to, at this point, I can see it's at 20 inches. I'm gonna bring it down, actually, you want to lengthen it. So if I bring this down to a 20 here, that means I'm going to cut off this much of my strap. So I'll just bring it here to the 20-inch mark, fold it over, and I'll sew it down right here. And then I can just trim off the excess. Now the reason why I wait till the end is because I've made bow ties for children, I've made bow ties for adults, and some of the children have adult size necks. So, and I don't always know how big the kids are because I don't get a chance to actually measure them. A friend will say, oh, make one for my child. I'm thinking it's a small child, and come to find out the child's 6 foot tall and like 13. So just wait to the end, trim it off, and there you go. Now, the way I do this is I'll lay it here, and then I'll sew this closed here. Sorry, it's taking me a minute. So I'll sew this here, and then this can slide according to the size of the person's neck. So at this point, I have my needle and thread. Again, I use my wax skein, my wax thread. Now when you do this part, just be careful not to pick up the neck strap in your stitches. I got it right there on the fold, so it's kind of tough to get in there. Now I just take little tiny stitches all the way across. Somehow I lost my snips. I'll finish those off when I'm finished. So there's the strap. Now when I'm talking about maximum adjustability, you can pull this down all the way over here. So this will actually be closer to the front of the neck when you're hooking it, but this can adjust all the way under here. And then you hook it here. So you can put that on a child. And so this right here, you could even, if you want to hook it here, it could even adjust smaller. That's why I do the strap the way I do. I don't sew it to the actual bow, where some people do. So anyway, that's the bow tie. I hope you guys like it. This is just one of several ways that you can make a bow tie, but this is just the quickest and easiest way to do it. I hope you guys like this video. I would really like it if you guys made something special for the holidays, or something that's just you, that's maybe something you don't see in stores, and you posted a picture down in the comment box. I would really appreciate that. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell so you're notified when I upload more videos. Thank you very much. Bye.